Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Force here with some more Friday Night Magic. Shut up, Dur. I don't want to hear it. He's telling me to go. I don't want to hear it. Oh, this opening hand. There's so many great cards. There's not a single land, so we obviously can't take it. If I had a single swamp, I would take this, though. It'd actually be pretty glorious with the reanimate. But anyways, let's go ahead and draw a new hand. And this isn't bad. Yeah, this isn't bad. We'll keep this hand. Okay, so welcome back, more Friday Night Magic. Today I am playing the Unfinished Business deck. Me and you, boy, we got some unfinished business. Yes, I planned that. That was planned. So the idea with this deck is it's a blue-black deck, and it focuses around getting cards in your graveyard instead of casting them from your hand, and then using abilities to quickly fetch said cards from your graveyard back into your hand. And that's exactly what we will be doing this game. So right now I've got the Putrid Imp in play, and the great thing is I've got the ability to just discard a card at any point and then give him flying. So this essentially, this allows me to get those big creatures in my graveyard very, very quickly. So I'm gonna attack for one because he's a creature. We might as well do that. But we've got cards like the Sphinx here, and then we also have the Rune Scarred Demon. And I will be, when I am prepared to get them from my graveyard, I will be discarding them with my Putrid Imp, and then I can do something like the Rise from the Grave to pull them back. Alright, so let's see what he's playing here. Whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a creature, you may put a quest counter on it, remove quest counters. Gotcha. Okay, that's fine. So that's just an enchantment that he's throwing in play. So he's playing a green beats deck. He's gonna get big scary creatures, fun stuff like that. We'll see if we can out big creature him potentially. In fact, we're gonna be able to do something right now. So I can choose between the Rune Scarred Demon or the Sphinx. I think I'll go with the Demon because then that's gonna let me fetch another card. And yeah, I think that sounds good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move into the combat phase. We will just move forward with an attack. Alright. And then second main phase, what I will be doing is I will discard from my hand the Rune Scarred Demon. We will hit confirm. And then we will cast a reanimate, letting us pull a card from my graveyard and lose life, but we get that card from the graveyard for 1 black mana. So we did end up losing life, but we also got that card back. With the Rune Scarred Demon, we can choose any card, and I think, let me try to think here. I should just do another, let's go with the Exhume. Gosh, I'm gonna go with the Exhume, confirm. Okay, so now what I can do is then discard again. We're gonna discard the Sphinx. Confirm. Sphinx is discarded. Then we cast the Exhume. Each player gets to pull a card from their graveyard into play. He doesn't have a creature in his graveyard. We do, so we get to pull the Sphinx into play. And then we pass the turn. And then all of a sudden, in a single turn, we go from having a 1/1 creature in play to 2 6/6 flyers. And that, for Mr. Derpstz's, is obviously probably pretty frustrating. We'll see if he's got any responses, though. So we're going to be hitting him for 12-13 this turn. This is unbelievable. Oh my gosh. All right, let's go ahead and move into the combat phase. Swing in the air. We can also, the great thing about this card, this allows us to put a counter on it and draw a card, so we're going to actually do that. Tap 3, put a counter on it, draw a card, get a 7/7. He is going to go ahead and play this. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Ah, nice, thank you. He's going to pump up our creature a little bit. That's very nice of him. Thank you very much. Puts him down to 1. Why did he do that? He did that because he's fully aware that he has obviously lost this game, and he is just trying to get it over with. Before the end of his turn, we're going to do that, get this creature in our graveyard. In case things go crazy, we've got to Rise from the Grave to pull that back. So I don't think it's going to come to that, though. Let's just go ahead and move into the attack phase, and that should pretty much be the first game. You know, with such a strong opener, getting such large creatures in play, just out of nowhere, it's pretty hard for most decks to deal with that. So, game number 1 in the bag. And our next game is against Goapapada. All right, let's see how this one. That first one, that was an absurdly fast victory. Don't expect all future games to go that well because that was honestly rather ridiculous. Okay, so we do have a Living Death, and we've got some cards that are like discard worthy. I guess this hand is okay. We'll keep it. It's not the greatest, but I've seen worse, so we need to find a way to get these cards in our graveyard, and if we can survive for a living death, basically as long as we aren't playing crazy aggro or something. Well, there's white mana. So we'll have to see what that brings. Gonna throw our island in play now. And nothing first turn. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. All right, there's another great card. But we need to get these in our graveyard, but I can't not be playing lands either, because I desperately need the mana to be able to play my Living Death eventually. So this is actually a tough call whether I'm going to get blue or black right now. So blue's going to let me undermine, but if I don't get a second black in the upcoming draws, then I can't Living Death. And he's playing an Honor of the Pure. All right, so he is playing the aggro white deck. We are going to go for blue because the most immediate pressing concern is an undermine. A Living Death is still a little far away. But again, if we don't get that mana for the Living Death, that's going to be terrible. Okay, so we've got 2 undermines, so at the very least we're going to be able to stall the opponent a little bit. So he is running an aggro white deck, although he didn't play any creatures those first 2 turns. This is the deck he's running, so I'm going to have some stuff to delay him. This is a perfect card to get an undermine on, because this thing is terrifying once it gets in play and he starts rolling other creatures and getting tons of card draw off of it. So he loses a little life with the undermine, and we're able to well, we counter it, and he loses life. And we have the Exhume, which would be good if we had a big creature in our graveyard, but we don't. And right now, again, we don't have the means of doing so. So I guess we just kind of chill out and hope to draw more lands. All right, he's going to try to play the Cather. That's fine, I guess. It's not counterspell worthy. Yeah, I just need to slow up this process. This would have given him 2 creatures in play. So although it's just 1/1 tokens, they turn into 2/2s with the Honor. I just need to slow up his killing of me, essentially. Oh boy. All right, well, I don't know. I don't know, man. This is we need something to get going here. So if we draw a 5th land right now, we're not going to Living Death because we don't have any creatures. Let's show you what Living Death does, by the way, in case you don't know. Each player exiles all cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures, puts them in the graveyard, then puts the exiled cards in the battlefield. So basically it pulls the creatures from the graveyard, puts them in play, while the creatures that were in play go into the graveyard. But right now I don't have any creatures in my graveyard, so it wouldn't be even worth playing. There's a Beacon of Unrest. Again, graveyard fetch. Can't play it because I don't have the mana. This is awful. Now, again, fortunately for us, he had a slow start, and we were able to slow it up with 2 undermines. But I desperately need a 5th mana, or else we're just kind of super screwed here. The other thing is, if I get something to discard my creatures, then at least I could Exhume. So that would be an option, but it's not a good start here. We're not off to a great start. Well, we were off to an okay start, but it's now looking increasingly bad for us. Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Still nothing doing. We might have to rely on creature discard because our hand is too full. How stupid would that be? That might be what actually happens. We might get too full of a hand and we'll have to rely on discard. If we don't draw a land next, that's could be what happens. Alright, let's see here. Lord of the Leviathans. Can make for 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. Bring me down to 14. I mean, bring me down from 14 to 7. And if I don't get a creature in play next turn, I am SOL. So, yeah. Yep, alright, here we go. Okay, there's the 5th land. So, what we are going to do right now, it seems like the best bet, we've got nothing to pull from our graveyard, so it looks like the best bet is going to be this, okay? So, whenever this card or another permanent is put into the battlefield from a graveyard, draw a card. So basically, when I graveyard fetch, I get card draw. Whenever a player casts a spell from a graveyard, draw a card. And it's got persist, so when it dies, it comes back. So this is going to be a blocking creature for next turn, unless he removes it with something. Like Path to Exile. There we go. Fantastic, thank you very much. So we get a land for this. This is not... I said thank you very much incredibly sarcastically because this does nothing good for us because we're dead. Because we are dead. So it just shows you, we get a game with a quick, good start, we win. We get a game with a slow start, getting mana screwed, we lose the game, and that's exactly what happened here. He's gonna swing for the victory, and there's just nothing we can do about it. All right, let's move on to a third match. Game number 3 against Eagle Destroy. Is that really his name? Yeah, that's Eagle Destroy, all right. That's funny. Not a huge fan of this hand. Let's go ahead and draw a new one. And, oh my gosh. This is not much better, but we will keep it, I suppose. It's just, I don't even know. I don't even know, guys. I don't even know. Last game was rough. I gotta be honest with you. Now we're going from like mana screw to mana flood. I don't know what to say. All right, well, let's get a swamp in play. Looks like we're playing against a green deck. Green is one of those colors. So we do have the Living Death, which is nice. It's a great card to have. Unfortunately, number 1, we need creatures. Number 2, we need creatures in our graveyard, and neither of those things are happening. Now we do have the Doom Necromancer, but this is not. It's great. It's good, but we need those creatures in our graveyard first. All right, so it looks like we're playing against a ramp deck. So we're gonna expect some big beefy creatures, and he's gonna be trying to get them out quickly. As opposed to us going with like a fancy graveyard fetch route, his deck is going for get a ton of mana out very quickly, and then use that mana to play your big creatures. That's sort of the variant that we'll be seeing from our opponent. Very interestingly enough, though, we drew into the Gas Lord. This is actually a castable creature for us, so it's a 5-drop, and it's a very, very good 5-drop. It can't be blocked, so opponent can't block it, and when it deals damage to a player, they reveal their hand. We get to pick a card, and they have to get rid of it. They have to exile it. So he's gonna play a Farhaven Elf, lets him search and get a land into play tapped. Great thing for us, though, is as soon as he plays his big beastie creature that he's been saving up for, Doomblade is going to be the game plan. That will be the game plan. Although that doesn't help us much with our Living Death, because then that would allow that creature to come back. However, we're not even in the position where we're graveyard fetching anytime soon anyways, so I think the Doomblade will probably be the response just to eliminate a threat. It looks like he's deciding to block the 2 damage, throwing away his Farhaven Elf. That is fine. And I don't know that he's gonna, we might see a Titan right now. Okay, so there's a Titan, and we're gonna Doomblade that. And I'm not sure if the land effect still triggers. I'm not sure if it stacks that way. Looks like it does. Okay, so he still does get both those lands in play. All right. All right, so that means he's gonna be set up for a big play for next turn. So we're gonna need to do some fancy footwork here. I only think here. Could sift and then sacrifice this to pull it back from the graveyard. Or we can just play the Gas Lord outright. Why don't we just play the Gas Lord right now? I'll worry about whether or not I want to Living Death and stuff in the future. And that would be kind of silly. There's really not much of a reason for me to get rid of it. Other than getting the card draw this turn and getting those 3 extra cards, there would be no real reason for me to do that. So what I could have done is I could have sifted and then discarded this and then pulled it back with a Necromancer, but I can still sift and get a discarded creature and pull it back with a Necromancer next turn. So at least I got that 2 extra damage. Now he's probably going to play something pretty big this turn. He's sitting on a lot of mana. He got that 2 extra land from when the Primeval Titan dropped. It lets him search through for 2 lands and put them into play tapped. He's gonna put down a big old Artisan here, and when it comes into play, he gets to return a creature from his graveyard to play. So actually, a Living Death is looking better and better now that his creature is no longer in his graveyard. Although we don't want to do it until we've got cards in our graveyard. So right now I'm going to sift. Let's go like that for the mana. So right now I'm going to sift, draw 3 cards, and put a card in my graveyard, and we're going to get rid of the Scion. Scion's in our graveyard. We could pull the Scion right now. Whenever deals combat damage to a player, put target creature card from that player's... It's just a 6/6 trample, though, so I don't know that I want to do that. I can also Beacon of Unrest that creature in a future turn, so I'm not gonna do that. I will attack him with the Gas Lord, though. So we're gonna attack him with the Gas Lord, and then we get to look at his hand and get rid of a card from it. We exile it. So let's see. We're gonna get rid of his... Oh my gosh, both of these are terrifying. Well, he can't play... he will be able to play that next turn. This is like... enough damage to kill me, though, next turn. Like, he could kill me with this. So we need to get rid of that right now. And it looks like we'll be relying on a Living Death. Looks like we'll be relying on a Living Death to not die, because he's gonna play his other big creature next turn. So I'm gonna be blocking. Oh my gosh. No, actually, the Living Death, we're gonna have to sacrifice a couple of... Okay, so the... Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Alright, so let's see here. He's gonna swing with the Annihilator. He swings with the 6/6, let him and get some lands in play. Annihilator 2 makes me get rid of 2 permanents. I can block and pull back the Scion. So let's see. We'll get rid of a island. And a swamp. So Annihilator 2 forces me to sacrifice, and he gets them back. He gets them with the It That Betrays. Now, we can block, and we could pull back the Scion, but I actually don't want to, because I'm going to Living Death next turn. So we're just going to block the 10/9 and let the creature go into the graveyard. Okay. So we just take 6 there. This actually isn't so bad. Like, I know this looks like a terrible situation, but we're actually okay. And we could be. We'll see what happens, but I'm actually feeling pretty good right now. All right, so here's the deal. Before anything else, I'm gonna move into the combat phase, and I attack him. He's gonna not only do 4 damage, but we're gonna get rid of the card that's in his hand. Which is, we'll find out in a second. Okay, so the effect triggers, and it's a Glade Heart, whatever. So we confirm, he exiles that, fantastic. Then, we play a Living Death. This clears the board and pulls all creatures from the graveyard into play. So we get the Scion, we get the Doom Necromancer. Wait, how does? Oh my God, he takes that because of the effect from It That Betrays. I didn't know that was gonna stack like that. So we're taking a guaranteed 4, and he's gonna get rid of probably the Beacon of Unrest. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I can't believe that. So basically what happened is the effect's triggered in a way that with the It That Betrays, he got the card back. I thought they all died at the same time, but apparently, whatever. All right, so we take 4. He looks at my hand. He's, actually, I mean, I guess it's a tough choice. He'll probably get rid of the Diabolic Tutor, come to think of it, because I can't play this, and this does nothing for me because I've got nothing to pull from my graveyard, so. Okay, he does play the Beacon of Unrest, all right. Again, that's interesting to me because I've got nothing to play from my graveyard. So, let's see, it's now a race. No creature to pull. I guess right now, I'm gonna hit him with both of these, and with the Scion. Oh, this is so good. So the Scion's gonna hit him for 6, but here's the other great thing about the Scion. When it deals damage to him, we get to pull a creature from his graveyard and put it into play under our control. So we're gonna take the It That Betrays Annihilator 2, or do we want the Primeval Titan? Because it's guaranteed trample damage. Yeah, I'm actually gonna take the Primeval Titan, because it's trample damage for next turn. And we also get those 2 lands, which is nice, I guess, but the big thing is that it's trample damage. So we're gonna confirm that. Fantastic, we get those. I'm gonna save my mana for an Undermine, stopping him from playing. If he had anything that would otherwise be game-winning this turn, we're gonna stop him from playing that with our Undermine. Counter target spell. He's gonna play this, draw 3 cards. Let's just go ahead and stop that dead in its tracks. And that'll be it. He will attack us for 4. And we win next turn. So it's pretty much nothing doing right now. That's the game. Wow. Well, that was a nice little come from behind victory. We were in a desperate situation with his board just being filled with that mass of creatures. And then the Living Death pulling our stuff back. The Scion letting us pull a Primeval Titan, but that's not really it. It's pretty much the Living Death plus the Undermine were the clutch parts of this particular game. So it is over, but let's just go ahead and secure the victory here. By swinging with everything, we got a couple lands from the Primeval Titan. Yeah. Get those in play, fantastic. Well, what really does it is the fatal damage. All right, there you go. What a good match. Well, we had 2 very quick games, first in a fast win and then in a relatively fast loss. And that last game, a little bit more drawn out, but really fun. I think that was a great display of Magic, just such a heavy swing back and forth. I mean, he had guaranteed victory, and then we hit him with the Gas Sword. We were able to pull away that enchantment that was going to let him win the next turn, and then the turn after that, he plays his massive creature. We Living Death, clearing the... I mean, that was a great game. That was a fantastic game, and I think that's a good one to go out on. Let's go ahead and go into the deck manager. I think this deck probably still needs some tweaking. While I did win 2 out of the 3 here in this recording, the deck overall just seems to be doing okay in this current build. So we've got 2 of the Evolving Wilds to filter out our lands and get that blue or black depending on what we need. The Putrid Imp, a nice early game drop that lets us get our big creatures into the graveyard for pretty much nothing. It's just an activated ability. We've got the Reanimates, which lets us pull a creature from the graveyard. We do lose life equal to its converted mana cost. However, that can be a very early huge creature with something like a Putrid Imp. Discard a huge creature, next turn reanimate it, even though you lose that life. That's a big creature very early in the game, and if they don't have removal, that's probably a loss for them. We've got the Doomblade to destroy non-black creatures, works in all non-black matchups. The Sea Beyond to get a few cards into our hand. The Exhume to pull creatures from the graveyard. Both players get to take advantage of it, but usually you're playing this early and they don't have anything in their graveyard. The Cunning Lethamancer. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player discards a card. Obviously, that hurts your opponent because they are losing cards, but helps you because you're getting creatures in your graveyard. Doom Necromancer to pull back a target creature from your graveyard into play. The Undermine for a bit of control and life loss for your opponent. Consult the Necrosages as card draw or discard, depending on what you want to use it to. Victimize to pull creatures from your graveyard into play. This can actually be very strong, so you take 2 creatures from your graveyard, you sacrifice a creature in play, and then you put those 2 creatures into play tapped. Again, imagine sacrificing one of your small creatures, like, I don't know, like the the Putrid Imps, and then getting a huge creature in play as a result. That can be very nice for you. And then we have Sifts for drawing cards and discarding a card. Discarding, of course, one of your big creatures. Diabolic Tutor to search through for a card. Gas Lord, you saw how great that is. And then we just start, there's a Graveyard Fetch, but then there's a Living Death for a Graveyard Fetch. Rise of the Grave from Graveyard Fetch, and then just we have the huge creatures. The Risen Deep, the Sphinx, the Runescar Demon, the Tidespell Tyrant, and the Scion of Darkness. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Friday Night Magic. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Tune in next Friday for another episode, and until then, well, I guess I'll see you then. What? All right. Keep watching and keep owning. Take it easy, guys.